One moment.
Okay.
One moment.
You want to stop it? I can show you the room before you go into the third one. It's a lot.
Gary.
Gary, we're live.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right. We're ready, Rebecca?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. All right. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining the Hudson 7 Drinking Waters Council virtual and in-person hybrid meeting. Today is September 15th, 2022. My name is Gary Bassett. I'm the mayor for the village of Rhinebeck and also the chairman of the Hudson 7. Our Hudson 7 meetings are being recorded and streamed live on our YouTube channel, but you can always find them on our website at www.hudson7.org. All of our meeting minutes are available to the public on the Hudson 7's website. If a member of the public who is on the line tonight would like to participate during the public comment section for our virtual meeting, please review our policies and procedures for public or written comments on our website. The Hudson 7 council members, if you're remote, please control your own mute button. My good practice would be to mute yourself. I will call on you if you wish to speak by raising your hand. So in attendance tonight, here as a quorum at the Poughkeepsie Water Treatment Facility, we have myself, Gary Bassett, Mayor Village of Rhinebeck.
Lynn Ruggiero, Hyde Park.
Bill Carlos, Town of Poughkeepsie.
Randy Allstat, representing the city of Poughkeepsie.
And virtually we have, online we have, I see Russ, yourself, and other members, voting members. Grant is here, Brad Barkley from the Dutchess County, and Dan Shapley.
Yep,
Did I miss
and
anyone?
you
And
have.
Rebecca.
We have Russell Gilmore is from the town of Lloyd. Danielle Freer is here from the town of Esopus. We have Mike Forging and Grant Jang from DOH. Dan Shapley from Riverkeeper and Brad Barkley from Dutchess County Planning.
All right, that's great. I didn't see them all. Thank you. Okay, so we have a quorum. I'd like to call the meeting to order based on the quorum. Okay, starting off with the minutes for August 18th, our last meeting, 2022. I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Any comments or suggestions or changes? Hearing none, minutes are accepted. All in favor, voting members, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So approved. Okay, county reps. I see Brad. Brad, are you available? Do you have an update for us?
We have communications first, Gary.
Pardon? Oh,
Communi-
communications. I jumped over to, yes. I always think that everybody just reads them. I apologize. Rebecca, do you want to read them in?
Yeah, sure. So all of the full, this is a recap. The full letters are all in your source materials file. David Rylands from Port Ewan wrote, utility use of Hudson River should not be allowed. Recapping, quote, we have seen the damage to the Hudson River for centuries caused by industrial use of the river to dispose of waste materials. Those wastes are coming back to haunt us after years of being allowed to lie on the river bottom and be covered up with silt. Dan Shapley submitted the Hudson River PCB Superfund Site Administrative Settlement Agreement in order on consent for testing investigation of the lower Hudson River. Dan, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, or I'll just move on. There's a link that was provided for folks if they want to review it.
Yeah, just really quickly, there were, this is the EPA's agreement with GE for how GE will test the Hudson River in this stretch of, in your stretch, as well as, from Troy to New York City, that whole stretch. And it has what protocols EPA is requiring of GE, which could be relevant for us to look at in light of the testing that was just done by TDI to try and answer similar questions about what's in the sediment. So that's why I shared that.
Thank you. A new letter from the Mahicantuck Water Protectors, Lee Gow from Connolly, New York. She raised 3 questions for the Hudson 7, recapping that 1, TDI's outreach throughout the Hudson 7 municipalities. Will their plan-free informational marketing meetings include input from ecologists and voices of concerned disadvantaged community members, including those in Canada where the hydro dams are located, and local legislators? 2, how will the Chippy project be impacted by yesterday's announcement that the EPA has reached a settlement with GE to study PCBs in the river, as PCBs are still very much a problem and will be more so upon jet plowing? And 3, how is the Hudson 7 responding to Holtec's Indian Point 2 LLC Speedies permit application regarding the dumping of irradiated water from Indian Point into the river that flows all ways? And then one more letter that came in regarding Hudson 7's public outreach, education, and engagement from Diane Dintruff. It is important to engage entire communities with the Hudson 7's mission and global water concerns, and that I've met people who don't even realize that the Hudson River water is used for drinking. And that's all for this month, Gary.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, now County Representative Brad.
Hi.
Any update?
So mostly what I was going to say was that I was pleased to hear, I had spoken to Gary earlier about an update on where the municipalities are with the latest MOU update, and was pleased to hear that progress, and I'm looking forward to continuing that work. That's about it.
Very good, thank you. Okay, nobody from Europa's not here from Ulster, so is there anybody else that's on? Do we have anybody at public comment? Russ, I see you raising your hand.
Yes, I'd just like to let the board know that at the last meeting, the Lloyd Town Board approved the $2,500 a year for 3 years to cover our portion of the agreement.
Yes, thank you, Russ. We will get that right into the next section. Thank you for the update.
No problem.
All right. I don't believe there's anybody. Is there anybody on, Rebecca, for additional public comment?
No, there isn't.
Okay, now we'll move into our old business and our Hudson 7 priorities. So the first one on the list is the update to the MOU. Just to give everybody a brief update, 6 of the 7 have signed and have agreed to move forward, and at the agreed price, they're waiting. Some of the municipalities are waiting to actually sign the MOU until we get all 7. So when that happens, then everybody will sign. Those who are waiting will move forward. We're waiting for Hyde Park.
I have an update that,
Okay.
as you know, we presented Monday night,
Correct.
and there's a special meeting on this coming Monday to vote, but I got word today that it's looking really positive.
Very good. That's good to hear. Thank you. That was a very productive meeting, I thought.
I thought so too.
A lot of fun.
Thank you for being there.
Yeah, no words. So does anybody else have any other comments on the Hudson 7 coordinator position? Great. You know what I'd like to do? I would just like to acknowledge everybody for moving that forward this month. You know, having everybody put it on your agendas and address the issue. It just reminded me again of when we first formed the Hudson 7 in 2018, how quickly we came to an organization. Again, this was an example how quickly as an organization this group can react to really addressing the issues that are in front of us on the Hudson 7. So I just thank you in advance to all the municipalities who are working to make the Hudson 7 a real advocate for the Hudson River in terms of drinking water. Okay. Next item, New York State Drinking Water Source Protection Program. Grant, you're on?
I am on. We are still working on the revised maps, and we hope to have them to you soon. We got to finish up a couple of things on our end, and targeted date of sending those out is probably tomorrow afternoon is the plan, and then we'll try to get the next meeting on the books after that. That's okay.
So when are we getting together next, Grant?
We haven't scheduled that yet, but I figured that we would spend some time looking at the maps first. And then, so I'll send it to you. And then,
I thought we had reviewed the maps and everybody that was on the working group meeting was in favor of the maps as that you had
we
drawn them.
broadly, yes, but there were some proposed revisions.
Yeah, we
so
talked about some changes, but that's it.
Yeah, so we just want to get those changes all done.
Okay.
So that we can get a look at them again.
Would you, just for the group's information and for anybody who would be listening to this online, could you summarize some of those changes that we talked about?
Yeah, so the big thing was previously we had been going off of the USGS's what's called the National Watershed Boundary Data Set. And there it had the Rondout divided into two basins, the upper and the lower basin. And so since functionally they're both in Ulster County, we're going to go ahead and condense them into a single watershed, and then doing some aesthetic changes to do a better job of highlighting which of the watersheds are would be of concern for the Hudson 7 to consider at this time.
Very good. All right, thank you, Grant. Okay, next on the agenda is our Hudson River drinking water source issues. The first subject is rotate the ribs, a follow-up.
I left this, I put this on or kept it on from last month because Dan had to go, I think, and missed this item. I wanted to make sure that if Dan had anything to relay that he could, otherwise we can move forward.
No, I'm sorry, I have nothing.
Okay. Can move on.
Dan, do we need to keep this on? For more
No, I
activity?
think we have a place for sort of holding items that are not active. I think that would
Right.
be the place for this until we hear anything more from DEC. We might want to follow up at some point to push them, but we have enough to push on.
It was Steve, right? Steve, I forget Steve's last name.
It was Alexander Smith,
Yeah,
and that letter is in your agenda packet from last month.
okay. We can move that down to old business or no action. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I thought that's right on the next line. Response from Alexander Smith. Your state DEC last month. All right, next. Champaign Hudson Power Express. How exciting. Randy, I'm gonna ask Randy to kind of give us a little summary. Will Truitt sent us, I mean, not Will Truitt, like a Will on mine. We did get an update from Will Davis.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I can get that, but if you could summarize your experience.
Okay, well, last Friday, we did the pilot test. The way it worked is that they had one barge that was doing the actual plowing and another barge, which was the monitoring barge. And we were allowed to be on the monitoring barge. Actually, they restricted it to 4 people, and there was no handrail around the barge anywhere. So it's wide open, and it's easy to bump into things or people. And I think that 4 people was a good, or 2 people like at one time with the monitoring people was reasonable to do. So who went out was, I went out with Dottie Ginobili, my lab director, and later Brian, Alex, and Nick Butler got on board. And then after we got off, they were bringing on Sean and Jen from TDI. So the the testing was very complicated. It seemed like they had a lot of computer programs with their jet plow. So they didn't make a lot of headway while we were there. We left around noon. And I'm looking forward to seeing, seeing results. There was a lot of testing. They had 2 boats or maybe more, 4 boats running around the barge that was doing the plowing. Plus we were monitoring for our intake, which was being pumped at 700 gallons a minute, which is about 2 MGD. They had set that up so it monitored the pumping went well. They would grab a big sample every time. They had a nice schedule. They had bottles all set, all labeled. They were very professional, and it came off pretty good. So I think we're going to get some good results from what we did.
I'll read in Will Davies' note to the record. The first paragraph is really about what you just summarized. The people who were on a boat. He said the trials were complete on Friday evening, and the barges are now remobilizing back to utility located campaign. One will head into the Harlem River, the other will remain on the Hudson, but downstream from where we were at that time. Normando completed the testing and sent the samples to the lab, where processing has started. They expect to get results in 2 to 3 weeks, after which Normando will start preparing their full report. We will, of course, share all the results from the lab with the Hudson 7. Normando are about to start the core sampling, and we are still waiting for the exact locations of the 2 of the water intakes before they start, but expect them to be on the water early next week. So
When I was on the ship, I was told that the Rhinebeck water intake wasn't located. And they didn't tell Brian when they were coming to look for it. And because Brian said he could have turned on some air to help them find it, but they didn't find it. So they have to go back there. But I thought they found everybody else.
Okay. Again, along with what I said, there's been a core working group working with TDI for quite some time. I'm going to acknowledge Randy and now Dottie, who joined us, Nick Butler, who was also on the team working with us, Paul Mauros, who's been influential as always, and who I'm missing, Dan Shapley, and Rebecca and myself, who has really been working very closely with TDI. And them, it's been an interesting experience, but it's also brought us a little bit closer together on how we should do it, what we need to do to protect the Hudson River. So again, I'm going to thank everybody who's been on that working committee that helped move us forward to help make this significant event happen this last week. Any comments on Champlain Hudson Power Express?
Gary, I would just like to echo your thoughts on that and thank the people, because if you remember at the beginning, we were more or less, are we just going to fight it, or are we going to also try and take part here? And I think the decision by this group to remain an active participant when just screaming no wasn't going to work is a really strong sign for you. And I think the testimony you got here is very important.
I think everybody's going to agree with that. Thank you, Brad. Okay. Is there anybody that has an update for the Esopus Creek Committee? I did attend the last AWRG meeting, which was, I forget on my schedule. They were last week, I think. And quite honestly, I'll be honest with you, I was lost in all the jargon that was going on and presented by the DEC in terms of who's doing what, when, where, and how, and the percentage and the numbers. But I did, reinforce the issue that when they do the project in 2023, and they're shutting down the Delaware Aqueduct, that there's provisions for whatever could happen with flooding. They said they have a plan in place and we're presenting that. So that to me was a positive signal that our activity, and really it was Paul that was driving that at the beginning, they're now recognizing us with a seat on the table and are asking us for comment. So
That's going to continue to increase as your reputation. There's nobody here of any of the 7 with an axe to grind or a sword to use. simple thing. Keep the river safe. We use it for drinking water.
Yep.
If you can't do it in the Ashokan Reservoir, don't do it on Poughkeepsie. And that's great. Absolutely, truly great. Consider where we were.
Consider how many people knew the Hudson River was a source of drinking water, as in that public comment we heard earlier. So okay, moving on. New business. We've been discussing this for the last 2 months, and it's the amendment to the bylaws. There was a motion made to amend the bylaws. I'll read the change in the bylaws into the record. And this is for the officers. The council shall elect a chairperson annually among its voting members, and such chairperson shall preside at the council meetings. The council shall elect a vice chairperson annually among its voting members, and such vice chairperson shall preside at the council meetings in the absence of the chairperson. The council shall elect a secretary annually from its voting members, and all officers will serve a 1-year term. The secretary will be responsible for keeping the records of all activities and decisions that take place at council meetings. That was amended back in June of 20. The secretary shall serve as the public information officer for the council. When the secretary seat is vacant, the chairperson will serve as the interim public information officer. A voting member may be appointed to respond to any appeals. That's the change.
The change is the text that's struck out. So,
Yeah.
and they serve for a maximum of 3 consecutive terms at a time is the only change to the officers section.
Right. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the amendment, change it to the bylaws and the term limit for officers.
Second.
Thanks, Lynn. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. All right. Rebecca, website business.
I wonder if we should do the appointments first.
It kind of goes in sequence.
Yeah,
right.
sorry about that. Yeah, maybe
No-
that's the next thing to
No
do.
problem. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to appoint the following officers that are effective June 1st, 2022 through June 1st, 2023. Chair, Mayor Gary Bassett, Village of Rhinebeck. Vice Chair Supervisor Jay Baisley, Town of Poughkeepsie. Secretary Shannon Harris, Town of Esopus. And the treasurer being carried over, which is in preparation of managing funds and paying for the coordinator, and treasurer is not currently amended into the bylaws, but it will be a position to be appointed once we get there. And that the Hudson 7 hybrid meetings can be held in the town of Poughkeepsie, if not held here at the Poughkeepsie Water Treatment Facility. But for the officers, I'd like to make a motion to accept those 3 positions. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, opposed? No. Oh, Jay, thank you. All right, so moving on.
You know, you can appoint Jay a job and I'll accept.
You just did. Rebecca, am I missing anything?
Well, just going
The
back.
website, back to website.
Website business. There's going to be a fee for the website that comes up every year to host Hudson 7's website. I need to get that information, but I'll do that for next month. So you can
Okay.
discuss it. It's not a large amount. But I have to see what you did last year. I think the first year Emily carried it, so I'm not sure what we did. So I'd rather go
Not
back
sure
and
either.
look, then we can discuss. Yeah.
I think the half part base.
I thought, I was thinking of town of Poughkeepsie paid for it. I wasn't sure.
Right. I think that's where we left off. I think you're right. And I need to go and look, and
Okay.
we're gonna have to, maybe they'll carry it again, but we can discuss it next month.
All
It's
right.
like $30 or $40.
All right, so we'll move that to next month.
And that's
All
all
right.
we have on the agenda, Gary.
Correct. Is there any other new business that anybody needs to add? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn our Hudson 7 September meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All in favor? Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Good
Good
night, all.
night, everybody.
Thank you, folks. Have a good
Good night.
evening.